for Arsenal FC. Big up yourselves each and every time for coming through. Listen, um, it just shows you in it. Football is a funny game, a funny game. Um, when was it? Sunday. It was looking like Arsenal. 9 points clear at the top. I think everyone was getting excited. Even myself. I was saying, I think it's safe to say Arsenal might have one hand on the trophy. And obviously that City and Liverpool game. I did say beforehand, if City have any aspirations of winning this Premier League title, then they have to go to Liverpool and win the game. And as I said, when they went 1-0 down through Dominic Szoboszlai, it was looking like the title was well and truly done. It was looking like it was Arsenal's to lose. And it just shows you, man, it just shows you a couple of games can change everything. Big up to Fitz, big up my guy each and every time. Big up yourself. Hope you're well. And it just shows you guys, that football just has a funny way, man, of just surprising you. And look at that now. Manchester City, 3 points behind Arsenal. Obviously, Arsenal playing tomorrow against Brentford away, which won't be easy. And I fully expect Brentford to get points from Arsenal in that game. I think if it was away from home, you probably say Arsenal probably could win that. But I think the fact that Brentford are at home, I can see Brentford picking up points against Arsenal. And this is why I'm calling it squeaky bum time, because I think it's very clear to see that the pressure now is on Arsenal, and I think if Arsenal don't win this game tomorrow against Brentford, again, they've got the North London derby coming up. They've got Chelsea in there as well. Obviously, they've still got to play City. And, sandwiched in, I think Fitz said it the other day, sandwiched in between Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. I'm telling you this now. Don't be surprised, man, if Arsenal start dropping points in these next few games. I think everyone goes on about Arsenal's squad, but let's face it, man. That squad is going to be tested. That's what I will tell you. It's definitely going to be tested. And yeah, I think it's crazy, man, to think that City now are 3 points. You look at Aston Villa as well. Aston Villa were drawing 0-0 for large parts against Brighton. And Aston Villa picking up the 3 points as well, which gives them a bit more of a cushion in third place. And obviously, they're only 6 points off of Arsenal now as well. So, yeah, I definitely think, man, that there is there is problems ahead for Arsenal for me. I think I'm not sure who Aston Villa or even City are playing next, but you'd fancy them to to start picking up more points and putting the pressure really on Arsenal, And having watched the game against Tottenham for Man City will be sitting there, and they'll be wounded, because it'd be one of them things where they should actually be level on points with Arsenal right now, because that Man City game, there's no way they should have that Tottenham game, there's no way Man City should have let Tottenham come back into that game. So yeah, for me, man, it is definitely, I reckon they're definitely going to be focused in trying to wrestle back this league title and trying to close in on Liverpool, on Arsenal as well. So Villa got Leeds in the league, okay, and Newcastle in the cup first, okay. So again, against Leeds, man, Leeds won't be easy. Leeds picking up a point yesterday after being 2-0 down against Chelsea. So Villa Leeds won't be easy. And I'm guessing Villa might be Villa away from home, Fitz. Are they playing away from home? Because that won't be an easy game for Villa. But I think they'll be a bit more confident at the fact that they've got 3 points tonight, when it was looking like it was going to end the draw. City got Newcastle in the league, Salford in the cup first. Yeah, and if I'm right, I could be wrong, but don't City play against Newcastle before Arsenal play Tottenham? So again, there's another pressure game for Arsenal because if Arsenal don't beat Brentford tomorrow, City play Newcastle in the earlier game, I believe. And I think, they could, in theory, go level on points with Arsenal or a point behind them before they play the North London derby, depending on what happens against Brentford. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. So all games are at home. Okay, so what? City have got Newcastle at home, you're saying, Fitz, yeah? Big up to Babs One Diva as well. Big up yourself. So City got Newcastle at home and Salford at home as well. And then City got Villa at home. Okay. So big games coming up, man. That's mad. That's mad. So yeah, City play Newcastle a day earlier. Yeah, exactly. So this is why if Arsenal don't win this game tomorrow, by the time they play the North London derby, and obviously I know everyone's seen, everyone is aware anyway of Thomas Frank getting sacked. Yeah. You know what? I think that's been a bit of a masterstroke. Well, I say masterstroke, yeah, but that's clever by Tottenham because I believe Tottenham have sacked Thomas Frank because they know full well that they've got Arsenal next game, and I think that will be in the back of their minds to sack Thomas Frank, bring a new manager in, whether it's going to be a new manager or a caretaker, because they're playing at home, North London derby. It wouldn't surprise me if the Tottenham team get a draw out of that, because I think they're going to be obviously in a mood where, whether they were playing for Frank in the end or not. But I definitely do think that the board have looked at this and thought, let's sack Thomas Frank and bring in a new manager that's going to get the players up for the game, the North London derby. So I think that was in their thinking. But although what I would say, yeah, is that I don't think Thomas Frank is a bad manager. I just think that the selection of players that Tottenham have aren't great, and when you're losing, arguably your two best creators in the team, it's always going to be an uphill struggle. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. Big up to Foxy Danny as well for coming through. Big up yourself. So City's games are both at home, okay, and then Villa got both at home as well. So you know what? Yeah, you would think to yourself that City and Man City and Aston Villa, they should be fancying their chances in picking up points against whoever they're playing against Newcastle in the league. And then I think Arsenal's next two games are away from home, Brentford and Tottenham. So this is what I'm trying to say to you. This is where the pressure's really going to tell, So yeah, let's see, man. Let's see. This is where I'm just watching this this Liverpool game. Ooh, unlucky. Last minute of the game, Liverpool 1-0 up. Yeah, I think it was an own goal in the end, but Van Dijk might claim it. I don't know. But so yeah, listen. I think the game tonight, Man City beating Fulham 3-0. I think, it could have been more, but then again, the second half was. I think City just took their foot off the pedal. I think City knew the game was won. Haaland come off at halftime. Rodri came off. Bernardo Silva came off. Foden came off as well. So yeah, they were obviously resting players, but yeah, what I was saying, man, is that first half for Man City, they were comfortable. Who got the goals? It was Semenyo, and again, these are the kind of games that Semenyo is going to prove his value because, as we know, Semenyo does get goals, and he got a goal and assist today. This goal for O'Reilly, and again, Semenyo, when Haaland's quiet, Semenyo is going to be tasked with stepping up, and I think against Liverpool he was poor, but in this game, Like, you know, he came alive with the goal and the assist. And again, I was more impressed with his assist because the weight of the pass for Nico O'Reilly. And I mean, what a player Nico O'Reilly is as well, man. Like, the guy's a central midfield player, obviously playing at left back as well. And what a finish that was by O'Reilly, you know. But great weight of pass by Semenyo. Because I think many players, you know, especially with the kind of player that Semenyo is, for me, would have overhit the pass, you know, but he just played it right nicely into O'Reilly's path and a great finish. And then the third one, Erling Haaland. What a finish that was as well. You know, so having watched that, I thought there was no space for him to work in. And the way he just took the shot early, got it out of his feet, great finish, you know. And this is what Haaland does, you know. He's very quiet throughout the game, but then always pops up, you know, with a goal. And this is why someone like him, you know, he's probably the one striker in the world that I would say, and I said this before, he's the one striker in the world that gets away with not having an all-round game because he consistently does provide numbers, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, a great finish. City plays well without Cherky. I disagree. I think with Cherky's one of them players where, you know, if anyone remembers, like, obviously he didn't start the season off, you know, and then, you know, middle part, obviously he has been getting more game time. But Cherky's one of them players that you kind of need the play to go through him. You know, he needs to be constantly involved, you know, because the guy's got so much quality in his game. You know, he hasn't been the Cherky that he has been over the last few games before. But, you know what I mean? That's why I think Pep's probably starting him off the bench, you know. Who knows? He might be a bit tired. You know, he might be starting to fatigue a little bit. Who knows? You know, because obviously it's a different league. But there's no doubting that Cherky's quality is there for all to see. And there's no way they play better without Cherky. No way. You know, I'll go as far and say, for me, City's best team when everyone's fit, and it's hard because they've got strength in depth. But I would say their best team is Donnarumma in goal, the back four of Matthias Nunes right back. It's difficult because I like Ait Nouri. I think Ait Nouri is a top defender, a top player, to be fair. But who would I play there? O'Reilly or Ait Nouri? You know what? I'm going to change it. I think City's best team going forwards this season, yeah? I'm going to say Ait Nouri at left back, Nunes right back, Guehi and Ruben Diaz. And I do like Kusanov. I think Kusanov is going to be, you know, one of the best defenders in Europe, I think, in the next few seasons. I think he's very good, you know. The midfield, I'd play Rodri and probably you'd have to say Nico O'Reilly. You know, I like Bernardo Silva, but this ain't the Bernardo Silva that I remember. You know, he's more of a workhorse. You know, he does still have quality, but he's become, you know, a proper workhorse of a midfielder. But I'd play Nico O'Reilly in there with Rodri, and I think O'Reilly actually helps Rodri because O'Reilly's got the legs, you know, he's got the quality as well, and he's got the physicality. So I think he would complement Rodri well. But again, you got Nico Gonzalez as well, who's someone, you know, that has stepped in for Rodri, you know, and he's proven his worth. And obviously Bernardo Silva we spoke about already. Then moving forwards, I would like to see Cherky playing the 10, personally, you know. I think playing Cherky in the 10, I think you get more for him. But I think this season, because it's his first season, obviously in the Premier League, you know, playing him from the right so he can get used to the league is probably what needs to be done. And then I like Foden, to be fair. I do like Foden. But Foden hasn't been great as of late. But for me, Cherky on the right, Foden in the middle, or the other way around. And then Semenyo from the left, probably you would say. And then obviously Haaland up top. And let's not forget, you know, Savinho's out injured, who I think's good. Doku's out injured, who's to be fair, had a very good game against Liverpool. But hasn't really kicked on as much as you would have thought. I like Omar Marmoush, you know, and obviously Marmoush can play right across the front and obviously as a striker as well. but obviously you're gonna probably pick Haaland because he guarantees the numbers in a sense. So yeah, I think that's. But again, they've got a lot of options. So if it's not going right, I like Reinders. Again, just like Turkey, it's their first season. But these guys will be better next season for me. When they've got a first season under their belt, man, of experience. I think they'll be better next season. And again, the signing of Marc Guehi, yeah, has been an absolute masterstroke, because to get Guehi for 20 mil, and Guehi's just come in there like he's been playing there for years, says how good Guehi is, because you wouldn't have noticed that Guehi only just arrived, and he's looking like he's the more senior defender there, and he's been a great signing. And I would actually say the signing of Guehi is what's going to take them to winning the league title, because there's no denying, since Guehi's come into the club, their defense looks more solid. They've got the best keeper, not only in the league for me, but I would say in the world, in Donnarumma, I would say. Donnarumma, Courtois, I think those two at the moment. I think Alisson's dropped off a little bit, but those two for sure are the best two in the world for me. And then when you added Guehi, you got Ruben Diaz's leadership and his experience. Kusanov is young, but he's hungry. And then you've got Nunes, who's been one of the best right-backs in the league this season. O'Reilly's been a revelation. Ate Nuri's class and his comeback. Like, I think the Guehi signing is what's going to do it for them, because Man City are always going to score goals. And they've added... And the smart signings of Semenyo and Guehi, Semenyo gets goals. Guehi's a very good defender. And I think that is why... they're gonna take some stopping, man. And again, 3 points behind Arsenal. Squeaky bum time for Arsenal, as I said, And yeah, listen, I think the pressure's on tomorrow for Arsenal, because they now know that any slip up, the pressure's gonna be on, and we're gonna see what happens tomorrow, because against Brentford are very good at home. And let's say Arsenal do beat Brentford, you'd have to give Arsenal credit, man, because I can't remember how many games Brentford have lost at home, but I'm pretty sure it's not much. Even how many teams in how many of the traditional top 6 teams have beaten Brentford at home? I think Man City might be the only team, if I'm right, that has beaten Brentford from the traditional top 6 teams. Virgil van der Klein got his head in the way of a cross today. Just putting it out there before anyone gasses it in the chat. Yeah, big up to Fitz, man. Yeah, listen, Van Dijk, man. He kind of owes Liverpool this season, man, because some of the things he's been doing is un Van Dijk like, I would say. But as I said, I rate Van Dijk. I'm not gonna come on there and say Van Dijk's not good, but he has been culpable for a lot of goals this season. Well, not I say a lot of goals, for a few goals that Liverpool have let in, But yeah, obviously getting his head to the ball. I'll be very surprised if they give him that goal, to be honest, because for me, it's clearly an own goal, if I'm honest, Guehi is quality, to be fair. Yeah, he's very good, man. I would have liked Guehi at Man United, but I think once City came calling, man, he was only going to go there, really, and it's a masterstroke, because if you're thinking of John Stones, yeah, I know John Stones was back on the bench today, but John Stones is probably going to be moved on, I would say, next season. He's on a lot of money, but he's very injury prone. And to bring in Guehi's basically the replacement for John Stones. Both English. Guehi right now is England's best defender, best centre-back, along with Ezri Konsa. So, yeah, man, I think it's a great signing by City, man. You can see that, because I think since he's come to the club, I know the Tottenham game they drew 2-2, but the goal that Solanke scored shouldn't have stood, the first one, because he actually kicks Guehi in the back of the calf. So, but since Guehi's come in, man, they've beaten Liverpool. They've won tonight. His debut as well. I can't remember who they played, but I think they won that game. So yeah, man, he's been a very good addition to that squad. So Yeah, but guys, let me know what you think about tomorrow's game, Brentford and Arsenal. Do you think Brentford will pick up any points, or do you think Arsenal will continue to keep getting the 3 points? Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. It's only gonna be a quick one tonight, guys. So, but yeah, we will be back for the Arsenal game tomorrow because I'm expecting some tears tomorrow from that fan base there. But yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think yeah, big up Fitz, man. As I said, yeah, I think it's going to be a draw as well. I think, well, the thing is, I've gone for a Brentford win, but I think at worst, I think Brentford get a draw. I can't see Brentford losing this game. I can see Igor Thiago, I can see him being a handful for Saliba and Gabriel. I can see him being a handful for them. Obviously, Kevin Schade not playing. Obviously, he's suspended. And he'll be a miss, but I think Lewis Potter, who probably will play on that left-hand side, I think Lewis Potter is going to offer something a bit different to Schade anyway. Because I think Lewis Potter is more of a workhorse kind of wide man, and I think he'll be helping out defensively as well. So I think, yeah, definitely he'll provide a different threat. But I think the two players to watch out for, obviously Igor Thiago, and I think they need to watch out for Dango Utara. And I think I reckon Arteta is gonna play Hincapié against Utara, and that's purely because Hincapié is competitive. And I think because Dango Utara's got serious pace, I think Dango Utara could cause Calafiori problems. I don't think Lewis Skelly would play. So I think he'll play Hincapié. And, Hincapié is going to have a tough game against Utara because Utara's a very good player, man. Like, he's a handful. And as I say, he's got pace. He's scoring goals as well. And him and Thiago, man, they're creating like a nice little relationship there as well. The midfield, I think Jordan Henderson will play with his experience. And I think Jordan Henderson's task will be to, nullify Declan Rice in a sense. I think Janelt might play with him as well, who's got energy in there. But yeah, listen, it's going to be a good game tomorrow anyway, again, for Brentford and Arsenal. And as I say, pressure's on Arsenal tomorrow. Can they restore it back to 6 points? Or will they falter, man? Because, yeah, going away to Brentford is the last thing, it's the last thing they're going to want, But is what it is. Arsenal fans don't want to come through until they feel safe again. Yeah, Fitz, man, listen, we know what these guys do, man. These guys are predictable. And this is why I said to you before, this is why Arsenal are not going to win anything. Because the fan base, they're not real, man. They're not a real fan base. They come alive, man, when it suits them. You know what I mean? And as I say, that kind of behavior there, you'll always get found out for that. Because you have to be 100% all in or not at all. And as I said, when Arsenal beat Chelsea, I said Chelsea, I thought Chelsea was going to beat them. But when Arsenal beat them, I told you I'd show up. You know what I mean? Because you can't just be, running your mouth in a sense and then when it doesn't go for you, you don't show up. And this is what these Arsenal fans do. Because I guarantee you now, if City would have dropped points, you would have seen a lot of them start saying the title's ours. This is what these guys do. So as soon as City overtake them in this title race, yeah, you're going to watch these guys run and hide. You know what I mean? So, and all this talking is going to be for nothing. And look at that. As I said, 9 points it could have been on Sunday. It's now down to 3. And the worst for City is Arsenal win to go back to 6 points. But again, there's still plenty of games left to play. And then the best thing for them is a loss, and then it's 3 points. And let's not forget, City still have to play Arsenal as well. So yeah, man, we'll have to just see. City drew tonight. This chat would be full with Lumi, Mamba, and them. Yep, we know that though. We know that. And as I said, them lot can have their time. It's been a long time coming for them, where they've been seriously being talked about as winning the title. 20 plus years. But as I said, when it doesn't happen, yeah, because I've seen enough football to know that the way that Arsenal play isn't sustainable. Relying on set pieces. They're gonna come unstuck, and they're not even playing good football. That's the main thing. So as I said, against Brentford tomorrow, and Brentford do have, they've got someone that is a long throw specialist as well. So if they get any throw-ons, Brentford, best belief, they're gonna try and crowd the box and start causing Arsenal some problems. So, a bit of a taste of their own medicine in a sense. So let's see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it tomorrow, man. 100%. 100%. So yeah, man, it is. Guys, only a short one tonight. So yeah, make sure you get your questions and comments in. And then yeah, we're gonna wrap it up in about 5 minutes. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the game tomorrow, Brentford and Arsenal. And let me know what you think of the game tonight as well. Let me know what you think, guys. Florian Wirtz is starting to look good now, man. I told you about Florian Wirtz. He's a top player, man. Top player. One of my favourite players. And I'd have loved Wirtz at Man United, but obviously Liverpool got him, man. And when people were saying that Wirtz, is a flop and, he's not going to do well, I think sometimes you got to just give players time to adapt. And you can clearly see he's adapting. Liverpool are not playing great, really. But he's definitely adapting to the league. And, yeah, fits, man. Wirtz is a top player, man. As I said, he's, I wanted him as the number 10. When Man United were leaving the number 10, my order of number 10s before Cunha was Wirtz and Eze. They were the two that I wanted. But obviously, both of them one went Liverpool, one went Arsenal, which was annoying. But, yeah, Wirtz is a top player, man. He's a top player. And as I said, he's going to be one of the shining lights in the Premier League for years to come, man. As I said, he's adapting now. And when he fully adapts, he's going to be a problem. I promise you. He's a top player, man. Who do you think Spurs will have as next manager? Good question. You know what? I mean, I've been hearing about Pochettino. I honestly don't know. I think I want to say an Iraola. An Iraola or a Glasner or something like that. But to be honest with you, Glasner's stock is dropping a bit now because, I mean, they got beat 3-2 by Burnley, which is poor. They were 2-0 up against Burnley at home. Burnley come back and won 3-2, which is shocking. But so I'm not sure what Glasner's next thing is, but Glasner's definitely leaving, but it just depends where he's going. I think I heard tonight as well that Roberto De Zerbi, he's parted ways with Marseille as well. So again, the manager market, man, is crazy. There's a lot of managers that are available, But yeah, I can't really tell you who Tottenham's next manager is going to be. It depends what the ambitions are because I think they've gone through so many managers. It just depends what manager is going to come in and want to work with these players for one. Pochettino is a good man manager. So maybe that's what these players might need, a good man manager. But the answer is I'm not too sure because Thomas Frank is actually a good manager. But yeah, again, man, these players are just collectively not that great, man. I mean, if I'm looking at that whole Tottenham team, there's two players for me that I would take in a heartbeat, no questions asked. And that is Mickey van der Ven and Jed Spence. They're the only two that I would look at for Manchester United and say, do you know what? Yeah. Because I think if you could sell Dallo and bring in Spence and have Spence competing with Mazraoui and also as well, Jed Spence can play left back. I think that would be a great addition. And then Mickey van der Ven speaks for himself. I personally think Van der Ven he's arguably one of the best defenders in the league. Like, I think he's that good, you know. And I think the bonus with him is his pace, you know. But I think he's next move, because if I'm honest, he has to leave Tottenham, because this is a player that should be playing for the top six the top six teams in the league and abroad. And as I said before, if Barcelona have anything about them, yeah, and they got brains, they'll go for Mickey van der Ven. Because imagine adding Van der Ven to that Barcelona team. I think if you add Van der Ven to that Barcelona team with his pace, yeah, I think they're going to be almost unstoppable. Because if you think of Pedri, you think of Yamal, you know, look at the form Rafinha is in, Frankie de Jong, Pau Kabasi, Balde, Kunde. Like, Balde and Kabasi are going to get better and better. I know Lewandowski's obviously the wrong age of 30, you know, but they've got Fermin Lopez as well. You know, they've got players. And what I would say is that if you add a Van der Ven in there and the higher line that Barca like to play, you know, not only are they going to squeeze and condense the game, yeah, but they're going to know that they've got someone who is arguably the quickest defender in world football. He can just get back, because that guy's pace is ridiculous, Van der Ven's. And, you know, the fact that he's left-footed as well, which is you know, the USP, the unique selling point, really, because it's very rare to get a profile like Van der Ven. You know, and that's great scouting from Tottenham, really, you know, because he was at Wolfsburg, I believe. Left-footed, centre-back, very good on the ball, got pace to burn, you know what I mean? And it's one of them things for me where I think for his own career, he needs to move on, because for me, he's too good for Tottenham, if I'm honest, you know. And I would love United to go and sign Van der Ven, but it's not going to happen. I know there was rumours about Liverpool, and again, you know, it's funny how, yeah, things work out, because if anyone remembers, yeah, start of the season, I was saying Liverpool have to play a three at the back. It would help Van Dijk, yeah, and it will help the players that they've brought in. Wirtz is used to a three at the back. Frimpong's used to a three at the back. You'd even get more out of Mo Salah as well, because he hasn't got the legs no more. You know, Van Dijk would love the three at the back, because he'll have pace either side of him in Konate and even like a Van der Ven. So again, if Liverpool have brains, yeah, then they'll do all they can to go and get Van der Ven. And I'll tell you now, if they was to get Van der Ven, and if, let's say, Konate was to stay, having a three at the back of Van Dijk, Konate, Van der Ven, all of a sudden looks decent, you know. And then you got the wing backs, if you want to play Frimpong, Kirkes, you know, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, if you want to play him, or McAllister, whoever in the midfield. Wirtz floating from the left. You got Ekatike through the middle. And then they go and get a new right winger. You know, I'm telling you, man, that could be something that they might look at. But, yeah, Van der Ven, for me, man, is a top player. And I think Barcelona, man, they're crying out for a player like him. You know? 100% before Cunha, I would have considered Simons too. Yeah, I hear it, Fitz, man. I mean, I think the number 10 position, because obviously the 3-4-2-1 that was being played, you know, I was looking at, as I say, Wirtz and Eze. I think the Wirtz one was more of a fantasy, because, as you can see, the amount of money that he cost, United were never going to pay that. But I thought Eze was someone that we could definitely have done with. But again, we got Cunha, and I'm happy with the Cunha signing, even though his form has been a bit up and down. But yeah, Wirtz, man's a top player, man. He's gonna be a top player in the future, man, for sure. And let's not forget, Wirtz is only what, 21, 22. So yeah, he's still got loads of time, man, to you know, to get better and better for me, you know. VDV is La Liga bound eventually. Yeah, I think that because, I mean, PSG, no, they got Pacho there, and Pacho's a good defender. Bayern Munich, I mean, imagine if he went to Bayern Munich. But I think he needs to go to Spain for me, man. I think Barcelona is obvious. I think even Real Madrid, you would look at. If you look at left-footed central defender, David Alaba. Alaba's obviously probably going to leave end of the season. But as I say, I think Barca, I mean, you look at Barca's defence, yeah, they've got Ronald Araujo, who's the captain, Pau Kabasi, and then they played that Gerard Martin there sometimes, you know. If they was to go and get Van der Ven, and then you got, you're picking between Van der Ven, Araujo, and Kabasi, you know, that three in particular, that's a very good three. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I'm looking at that as what they might do. Who knows? Yeah, man, he's a top defender. But yeah, I think he needs to lead Tottenham for me, man. And so him and Jed Spence are the only two I'll take. You know, I like Kulusevski, but Kulusevski we don't really need, and he's obviously out injured. I think Udogie, you know, I think a couple of seasons ago I would have said Udogie, but he's dropped off massively. You know, I don't know what's happened to him. Basuma I like, but again, you know, he's been a bit in and out, really. So, yeah, Van der Ven and Spence for me, I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying Van der Ven and Spence. But, guys, anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Big up yourselves for coming on each and every time. As I said, you know, squeaky bum time for Arsenal. Let's see what they can do tomorrow, you know, and no doubt, guys, if they do win tomorrow, you know, you are going to see their fan base, you know, in good spirits. But likewise, if they get beat tomorrow, it's going to be meltdown. And as I said, we should be back tomorrow. And guys, obviously next week, you know, obviously I'll be looking to be doing a couple of streams a day, you know, at certain times. So obviously my normal times of streaming, as you guys, you know, might become a bit familiar with. You know, if I stream like during the day, you know, it's more or less at 12:30. And then in the evening, you know, it can vary. It might be about 7 o'clock. But I'll obviously try and make certain times just so you guys know when I'm live. And next week, as I say, I'll have more free time to obviously make sure that the streams that I'm doing are on certain times. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, should be back tomorrow, guys. I'm not going to promise nothing because, you know, little things come up. But I should definitely be back tomorrow. More or less the same time. Well, put it this way. I'm going to be back tomorrow after the Arsenal game. So I'm going to promise you guys that I'll definitely be back tomorrow after the Arsenal and Brentford game. And as I said, yeah, let's see what happens because pressure is now on. Big up to the mods each and every time. Big up to the chat. And as I said, guys, let's see what happens. And as always, smash the like button on your way out. Sub to the channel, make sure you share the channel, and make sure you view all the other content as well. And I'm gonna put out a little video, guys, tomorrow during the day. I'm gonna do a little preview for the Brentford and Arsenal game. It won't be a long one; it'll be like a little quick one. Just obviously previewing the how both teams might line up. So, yeah, make sure you guys check that out as well. And as I said, we'll be back tomorrow for the reaction to the game. And let's see if these Arsenal fans actually turn up tomorrow. Let's see. No doubt they'll probably turn up if they win. But if they don't, then is what it is. But big up yourselves each and every time. Smash the like, sub to the channel, share the channel. And yeah, guys, I'll catch you in a bit. Take it easy.